Number one Ibble Dibble here. Hello friends, welcome to video 4 in my series Megan's Floptastic Flaws, in which I explore all the personal obstacles Megan must conquer before finding success marketing consumer goods. In video 1, I covered Megan's low taste level and lack of likability. In video 2, I reviewed her inability to network effectively, and in video 3, I explored her misguided snobbery. This video I felt somewhat hesitant to make because I have found that once we get into class and culture issues, lots of people get very triggered. But then I remembered Megan trying to silence her YouTube critics with this dumb line.
I think that is the piece that is so lost right now in what's happening in the digital space and in certain sectors of the media. We have forgotten about our humanity. And that has got to change, because I understand there's a bottom line and I understand that a lot of money is being made there. But even if it's making dollars, it doesn't make sense.
And how annoyed I was. Because let's be serious, I'm making sense, not dollars here. If Megan had any sense, she would be paying me, or someone like me, the big bucks, but she doesn't. So I decided to make it. In today's video, I will explain why Megan isn't, probably will never be, and definitely should not currently try to be luxury. Part 1, why Megan isn't currently luxury. She simply has no idea why people even like luxury heritage brands, other than that affiliating with them denotes a status I suppose she always aspired to and believes she currently possesses. And she certainly has no idea why attaching an aristocratic name to a brand or a product works when it does work, and why it cannot work for her. Megan struggles with this psychology a lot, clearly experiencing cognitive dissonance between her belief on one hand that she is solidly royal by injection, and her knowledge on the other that she's common in the old and new senses of the word. This is why she keeps buying brand new, top dollar, old money style outfits, never realizing that the old money look is essentially neither brand new nor necessarily top dollar. That lack of perspective on her own style, if the word could even be applied to her, is also what's messing up her branding today and will continue to muddle this brand in future. She's indulging her fantasy self-image rather than performing any market research at all to see what people might actually ever buy from her and assembling a brand accordingly. I guess it's fine if it's a hobby, not a business, you know. Nowadays, every socialite is an actress, model, jewelry designer, travel agent. Maybe I'm reading too much into this, assuming she wants to be successful at all. Perhaps she actually wants this to fail so she can write off the losses against any income they might still be receiving from Netflix. Anyway, in this video, I'm going to assume she really does want to succeed at luxury heritage marketing and just doesn't know how, lacking the required skills, references, taste level, and network. Okay, will this be another boring history lesson video? Yeah, of course. Why? Because luxury heritage marketing is, at its core, the sale of self-identification with an untouchable legacy of status, rendered tangible through the exchange of a disproportionately high sum of money for a consumable, sometimes rationalized after the fact as simply having the taste, style, and standards to utilize things of the highest quality, or representing the pinnacle of design, or even showing an appreciation for novelty or humor, or demonstrating a tongue-in-cheek knowledge of present-day politics. Of course, they don't make complete sense. These are rationalizations, not reasons. In this marketing niche, the past is very much present. PhD students in Paris today make graduation projects about Contessa Castiglione as fashion influencer, and people like that. And yes, I did just say PhD students in Paris. Megan and her team genuinely seem to not even know how much they don't know. In part 3 of my Don't Merch the Title Meg series, I touched touched on the early 20th century fall of the monarchies and how that gave commoners, non nobles, an opportunity for the very first time to own things that had previously been owned by aristocrats, nobles, and royals. Probably the most legendary thing of this sort was the public auction of the Romanov jewels by the newly established USSR, but many pieces from many deposed royal families started changing hands, and they still do today. Somewhat less glamorous, but still desirable, were all the accoutrements of country life that got auctioned out of the sold and demolished English manor houses between 1 and 3 generations later, peaking in the 50s and 60s. Even today, royal and noble provenance auctions are the most reliable sales in that even without a star in the show, they command premiums for things that would otherwise not be worth much. Why? Because the only thing that trains the senses to quality is exposure to quality. So, what sells aristocratic junk is the assumption by everyone else that its former owner has had this ineffable lifelong exposure to the best and possesses a resultant ability to choose the best in everything, even the quotidian. In my first video in this series, I touched very briefly on the emergence of la noblesse commerçante. Le goût Rothschild is a great example of this, defined as simply the best, better than all the rest, better than anyone you've ever met. They've been around for so many centuries, so closely acquainted with royalty and nobility that people assume they know how things should be. The Rothschilds were purchasing antiques of royal and noble provenance before the word antique was even coined. In the 17th and 18th centuries, the auction houses considered the paintings, the sculptures, real art, and everything else was just sold off in curiosity sales. The Rothschilds could also obviously afford to commission the same artisans and artists as royals for their own architecture, decor, and personal effects. The only thing stopping them would be an exclusive arrangement any particular royal house had with their suppliers and the limited time those suppliers had on Earth. With limitless resources, intimate knowledge, a competitive attitude, decades and even centuries old business relationships, their style was considered the pinnacle of taste for a bare minimum of 150 years until Bauhaus and then mid-century modern really dramatically changed the design lexicon. It's still considered the top to top by many today. What does Le Goût Rothschild have to do with our dear Megs? Almost nothing, and that's my point. Speaking of the Rothschilds, the most famous Parisian chateau of the French branch, Chateau de Ferrières, is actually now a luxury hospitality school offering master's degrees called École Ferrières, extremely highly respected. If Harry and Meghan really wanted to do this thing, they could arrange for a private accelerated course for themselves and their staff, spend the summer in France with their children, learn a lot, have a lot of fun, meet staff and graduates that can consult for them, work for them. But I think they're either unaware that this world exists or they're so accustomed to being served and considering these people humble servants that they don't believe there's any art or skill that goes into luxury hospitality experiences. If Harry still resents the French for killing his mother, I'm sure there are equivalent schools in Italy, perhaps. I dare not suggest London. Meghan whined and cried in her Netflix series about how she had to leave the royal family because
I tried so hard. And that's the piece that's so triggering because you go, and it still wasn't good enough. And you still don't fit in.
but it sure seems like she thinks this is good enough. She sent out clearly white labeled wedding favor basket jam in bowls of shredded paper and a bunch of lemons that only the influencers will get. Obviously, this is not good enough. It highlights a few reasons heritage branding is really not right for her. First and most obviously, she married into royalty relatively late in life. She wasn't raised in it, and she rejected it after just a few months of immersion. She doesn't even pretend to know, appreciate, like, or aspire to aristocratic tastes, and she's demonstrated no desire to cultivate expertise or connoisseurship in any. In fact, she seems really proud of her ignorance with the whole medieval times curtsy anecdote and telling us there's no manual for being a duchess. So her duchess title will not attract purchases from those who do admire those things and wish to cultivate those tastes. She seems to think people, Americans in particular, will buy from her as some sort of Roman tribute to our duchess. We certainly will not. She really thinks we're all townspeople, frightened or insecure enough to admire our Duchess's new clothes. Luxury heritage marketing caters to three main types of customers: the legacy clientele, the nouveau bien riche, and the aspirational upper middle. These three groups have very little in common, but the one thing they all share is a strong, abiding admiration for history and objet de vertu. You can't have your cake and eat it too, Marie Antoinette. If you use that title to sell something, the public expects superb quality, spotless provenance. And if you don't provide that, you don't build their trust. Because as a married in, you do have to earn their trust. It's not a given. Part two, why Meghan will probably never be luxury. Luxury heritage marketing is, I think, obviously an art and a skill. And the people who do it for a living know how to appeal to their various target customer profiles who all abide by actually quite different psychologies. The sad truth is, quality doesn't sell itself. Do this type of marketing correctly, and you can sell them anything. Hello, Gucci ice cube trays and dog beds. You might even be able to charge $30 for a pot of jam. After all, it's both highly irrational and completely intuitive that the more expensive a purchase is to a person, the more likely they are to make that purchase based on emotions and justify it later by any means necessary. Do it poorly, or refuse to do it, and you won't sell a thing. Whenever you see a company advertising themselves as, say, the last remaining horn comb factory in France, it's because the others all went out of business. And only 70 years after the fact have we realized, maybe we should be making simple things like hair combs out of cheap natural materials in an environmentally sustainable way while providing work to local unskilled laborers. Meghan is clearly ignoring the fact that it's far more royal to support ye old comb factory than any monopolistic luxury conglomerate that will give you the time of day. But having been rejected, she's trying to imitate the latter rather than the former with her ball gown, grayish palette, weird hand-scrawled font, weird graphic design of said hand-scrawled font so it looks like an embossed invitation, pseudo arms logo, use of the word established when she's built literally nothing, not even an Instagram post, not to mention the use of her title, the Duchess of Sussex. It's so meticulously pretentious that part of me wonders if it isn't a joke. It's sort of insulting, really. If someone told me to come up with branding for selling a completely generic wedding venue to craven provincials, this might fit the bill. If I were a cynic, I'd say that's what Meghan is herself, or thinks of her sugars, or both. Selling garbage to the poors with this branding would probably feel like the ultimate flex to a contemptuous, status-oriented narcissist like Meghan, who doesn't want everybody to think, but needs everybody to know she, having married a prince, is better than them. But the terrible mechanics of her failed rollout tell me it's just another vanity project like Archwell. Her poor fans, few that they are, were probably refreshing their inboxes, waiting for that invitation to buy her dumb jam, and it never arrived because it was about how Meghan felt, not about how they felt. Meghan's narcissism renders her unable to relate to other people, literally unable to relate. And the delusions of grandeur inherent to any narcissist have been exponentially compounded in Meghan thanks to her marrying an extremely high social status individual, a British prince. She can't get past herself to see a customer. To her, she still is the customer. She's buying herself a cute, classy, friendly, picture perfect business. Or self-image or business? Because she deserves it. How dare you? The same way she bought herself a skeleton crew charity to dodge taxes while funding the war against free speech, and bought herself $1 million of clothes on the then Prince Charles's dime, because for her it was a point of pride to spend more than Kate and Camilla. In her mind, that means she's as important as or more important than people who are actually really truly deservedly more important. Meghan is stuck in a regrettable loop where the more negative feedback she receives, the more she self-aggrandizes, bringing on more negative feedback. Whether or not she puts up the capital for a business, letting her have any creative input is tantamount to letting the interns run the company. The same, of course, could be said about business acumen, but that's for another video. When I said Meghan will probably never be luxury, I wasn't judging her class origins. I mean, she will probably never put in that application at HEC or EFM. So far, she hasn't even bothered to go to the websites and click the hire a graduate link. Part 3, why Meghan should not even attempt to be luxury right now. She needs to put in the work, is I believe how she says it. This level of whatever this is fine for a bootstrapping nerdy mom selling jam at the market, but Meghan is not that. She doesn't want to be that. She's not even pretending to be that. And if WME thought that this was a good idea to position Meghan as some kind of trad wife, she's on the backside of the trend and will have to reinvent real soon. So I don't even know why they bothered. If she really wants to sell jam, if she actually wants to sell products in any category, number one, she should go to a market research company to find out what people know her and like her for and what she might have success selling. In fact, she should hire 2 market research companies. She should hire 3. She has the money. She should figure this out before she starts production on anything. Number 2, she needs to get people on her board. So far, she's been acting either like a social mooch or a horrible boss. A board of directors is where she can benefit the most from friendships with people like Victoria Jackson in the proper way with pre-existing, generally accepted boundaries. Victoria Jackson is her friend. Put her on the board. Ted Sarandos and his wife are H&M's friends. Put one of them on the board. I don't know how Meghan still has any friends. Maybe she doesn't know either. Maybe the perfect litmus test would be getting them on that board. Number 3, she should work with a trend forecasting company. Even once the hiccups are out of a supply chain, production has long lead times. The first products are going to take the longest. She needs to make the most educated guesses possible about what people will want from her in 6 months, 1 year, 18 months, 24 months, and make hundreds of thousands of small but pivotal decisions along the way, especially if she is using her title and trying to keep whatever reputation she has intact or build it up. This can be anything from product or service categories to colorways and fonts. That's a tiring, tedious process. Her taste level is already not great. Her attempt at a brand identity with American Riviera Orchard is not good. Better delegate those decisions to the pros. Lastly, obviously it's impossible for narcissists to experience or relate to most emotions. That said, a narcissist of sufficient intelligence can at least academically comprehend the mechanisms of emotional intelligence as they influence the values and priorities of target customers. And even narcissistic marketing idiots like that Alyssa woman with the beer still really, really want to sell stuff and make money. But Alyssa also has to or likes to work for a living. Meghan doesn't, at least for a while. Though she may never change, she might need to hit rock bottom to actually change her behavior. I only see that happening for her if Harry divorces and then humiliates her, which I never expect him to, or they completely run out of money, which would put her in an extremely inconvenient condition to launch a business. So this puts Megan in a really interesting conundrum. Her ego is at odds with her greed. Which will win? I can't wait to see how it plays out. She perceives any criticism of her, direct or indirect, diplomatic, reasonable, constructive, all of it, as a shame attack, and hasn't really learned how to interact with people beyond creating contests of will. So, the world of business would be mighty rough and tumble for her. And perhaps that's why she's avoided actually doing things the right way. Or maybe that kind of self awareness is entirely absent or completely suppressed. On a more conscious level, Megan's making the exact same mistakes she's made before. Megan thought she knew every job on set and all the jobs behind the scenes because she understood superficially what a few of the jobs were in order to do her own. She thinks she's a businesswoman because she sort of superficially experienced the world of luxury goods marketing as an erstwhile Instagram influencer who probably just hustled a couple of hotels for a free room and some drinks. She seems entirely unaware that there's a whole wide world out there of esteemed professionals. This is a world of true experts that can do competitive analyses, recommend brand positioning, create customer experiences that will really appeal to your target market, develop product attributes, benefits, features, develop business plans, develop full commercial launch plans. When you are a high profile individual, a host unto yourself for better or worse, there's no such thing as a low profile launch. Okay, that's my rant for today. Thank you so much if you're still here with me. I know talking shop isn't very exciting. Let me know in the comments below. Do you think Megan will ever stop and take the time to do this right? Or even just do the best she can? Do you think Megan can ever, will ever be luxury or have any amount of success selling any consumer goods to any market? Or is she well and truly hopeless? Let me know in the comments. Toodles! Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.